to.
Hello, my name is Jacob Glazner, and this is my GPS research presentation. So the GPS I chose for this presentation was the Garmin 430, or Garmin GNS 430. It is an all-in-one GPS navigation and communication system. It covers United States and international, but it all is provided from an SD card that you stick into one of these little SD slots. You can go and download the information to the SD card from a Jefferson database, which will give you the most current and approved GPS statistics for this kind of GPS. So the page 1 function for this GPS, if you see this red arrow here, it is pointing towards KIXD and BUM. So if you're starting up the aircraft or at your home airport, you want to you usually push the direct to button and put in your home airport so you can track your ground speed so you're not going 30 knots over the ground taxiing around. So you have your home airport, and then the first waypoint that you're going to would be BUM. That's just pointing out, hey, we're going towards BUM. This page I like to use in IFR situations because it doesn't give me the map display, and it really keeps all the information I need very simple and very big on the screen so that I can see all available information at that given time. If you look over here at the white arrow, you'll see the distance away from BUM from my current location. So I just took off from KIXD. I've been flying for about 5 minutes. I'm going direct to BUM, and I'm 38 nautical miles away. That gives you the distance. The direct track that I want to follow is 146. So that means that the most efficient route to go to BUM is on a 146-degree heading. So that is the track that in an IFR situation, you want to be on that track. You do not want to get off of that track. Bearing as well, you do not want to get off that track. So on this page, you'll see that the red arrow over here is pointing at 114 GS. GS is your ground speed. It's not your true airspeed or your airspeed. It is the ground speed, the how fast in knots are you traveling over the ground. We are traveling 114 knots over the ground. If you look at your track, this will not always line up with your direct track, because the track, which if we're flying our perfect path, we are on a 146 track. That means that we are on course in the most proficient and most efficient way. Now, if you're off track, then you will see that this track number will be 156. That is what the GPS is tracking you traveling. That means you are off course, and you don't want to be off course, especially in an IFR situation. Over here, you see ETE. That is your estimated time en route. This is showing that we are 20 minutes away from BUM. That is the amount of time that it is going to take us, or an approximate amount of time it's going to take us to get to the BUM waypoint. So the page 2 function here, this is what the GPS, the Garmin GNS 430 looks like. So over here you got the volume knobs, you got your frequency change, V-lock change, CDI, OBS. It looks a lot like most GPSs. It has all the functions that most every other GPS has, but we're only going to be focusing on a couple of important parts. So we're going to worry about the communication function. So it is COM1. It only has one communication function, as well as a navigation function, which is the V-lock function. So as you see, it is COM1. This is the only communication you have. You have your active frequency and your standby frequency. So if you look at the top left, I usually use the volume knob to turn up the frequency just in case I can't hear them too well. You're able to turn it up. Every GPS has that. If you look at the bottom left, you'll see a push CV that transfers between your communication and your V-lock. So if you push in that small knob, it will change from communication frequencies down to the V-lock frequencies, especially if you're trying to find a VOR or track a VOR. You need to turn the V-lock to the appropriate VOR frequency. So with the frequencies, if you look here, you got a small knob and a big knob. The big knob that is closer to the interface, if you turn that knob to the right, it'll change the whole number in your frequency. It'll turn it from 136 all the way back to, I think, 118 or 116 is the first number that you get. So if you're at a 135 and you turn it to the right, it'll go to 136. If you turn it to the left, it'll go to 134. That's how you change the whole number. Now, the push CV knob, if you turn that left or right, it will change the decimal place. So 975 will go down to 0.95. Instead, if you turn it to the right, then it'll go to flatline 0. So the page 3 function, if you turn the, so over here you'll see that the push cursor, that is how you turn the navigation pages. So this is page 2, now we're going to travel over to page 3. So page 3, the blue arrow here, it'll show you that the airport, our home airport, is a public airport. It's not restricted, but it is public. If you look over at the red arrow, it basically gives you every single frequency that you may possibly need from that airport or around that airport. So you can see red arrows the ASOS, yellow arrows the ground, white arrow over here is the tower frequency, blue arrows the Unicom, and yellow arrow is the departure. So if we go back to this page here, you'll see that it says push cursor on it. So push cursor, if you get over to this page right here, you can push that push cursor button and it'll highlight it, like you can scroll through each and every one of these frequencies. Now, if you want the tower frequency, instead of going back to the communications and going through your comm frequencies to put in the right frequency, all you gotta do is push that cursor button again. It'll ask you, do you want to load this in your standby? You push yes, and then that frequency will go straight over to your standby frequency. Instead of having to sit there and fiddle with the frequency tabs, it just makes it a whole lot easier and brings down the workload for the pilot a lot. It really makes it easier. So, in conclusion, this GPS is really all I've ever flown with other than the G1000. Personally, I like the G1000 a little bit better, but I know more information on the Garmin 430. It's just what I've flown for the past 3 years. But in conclusion, one biblical reference that I'd like to bring in is Psalm 556, "Oh, that I had wings like a dove. I would fly away and be at rest." Ever since I started flying, it really has changed my perspective on life, really. I've never had the opportunity to get into an aircraft till about 2 or 3 years ago. And from the first time I got in the aircraft, I was like, wow, I want to do this as a career. This is awesome. I can't say how many people have seen what it looks like to be over cities and look down on it, but it's just insane to see the work of God and like what He has made for us. And to be able to be in the air and look down at just the beauty of everything, it's just insane. And that's one of the things that really like touches me, is being able to see God's work, especially at sunset, looking over at the clouds, seeing that from 5,000 feet up and just seeing the beauty of it. Not everybody can see that. Only pilots can really see the beauty of what God has made from the air. Like, that's not something you see every day. But thankfully, I've been blessed to be able to see that, and I've luckily found this career path, and hopefully I can get my CFI job in the next month or two and hopefully make my career in aviation, hopefully start my first steps in the aviation field. But this is my reference page as well. All images were provided by Jeppesen. That's where I got all of the GPS pictures from as well. Well, the information was all provided by me because I've worked with this GPS for the past 2 to 3 years, so I was able to bring in all of the information, and I hope y'all enjoyed it, but thank you very much.